Yeah, that's true. You don't hear any of the small time teams because no one cares when there's how many games are there in a regular season now? In a full season?
82.
Okay, yeah. Same problem
Well,
with baseball.
well, like he said, like he said, the NBA is a super team. Like, I mean, look at the this year, it's like the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Nets are basically it. And then there's those teams like the Nuggets and like the Trailblazers who are like super fun to watch and aren't just superstar after superstar after superstar and are like homegrown. But then it's just not entertaining to watch them when they end up going against like one of the Lakers or the Clippers of the world, because it's just they get beat down so bad because it's like, okay, you just don't have the talent. Like you just don't have the superstardom in order to do this. And then that's how I feel about like the East too with the Nets now. I mean, who is actually going to compete with them in the East? Like the Celtics? No, that's not happening. Like it's one of those where, I mean, I guess there's the Sixers are there, like, but the Sixers are just. I've never felt good about Ben Simmons and Embiid together. I don't know. They just don't seem to mesh as well as they should.
God, how
I
old is
so
Ben Simmons now? I feel like I've been hearing that he's going to be good for 20 years.
it's because he is
Holy shit, he's
really.
24.
It's because he's really good. He just refuses to like have a jump shot, like which
Wow.
in the NBA you have to have a jump shot. Like I don't.
Don't pay attention enough. I just feel like maybe that was when I last paid attention. He just kept on talking about him. He's like, yeah, he's going to get better. And there was like memes about him like actually making a 3-point shot. God, 24? I would have believed it.
Dude, he's been in the league like 5 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's how it is in the NBA. When you see a guy that's been in, like that's like 32 years old, like that dude's been in the league for like 13 years. He's traveled. So but anyways, yeah, no, I've never felt good about Ben Simmons and them. And then I love, as much as I love Giannis, and I have a Giannis jersey, so like I love Giannis. I've loved him since they got drafted, and I don't have any record of it, so obviously I'm talking out of my ass a little bit here. You know, you have to go on my faith alone. But and Craig will tell you, my best friend, or one of my best friends, Craig, who's a huge basketball fan, will tell you that I said back when Giannis was getting drafted that I thought Giannis was the better or one of the best players in that draft. So,
yeah.
No, I know that's how a lot of people felt. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's an international guy, probably a bust." I'd watched Giannis play, like I'd watched some of his film when he was in Greece playing, and it was just like watching a point guard just be that tall and big. And so it was one of those where I just felt like I was like, "Oh, this kid's super talented, like too talented." And I mean that's what he's become basically. It's just the problem with the Bucks is I don't think they get enough talent around him or the right talent around him in order to win enough games to mean anything. So again, here we are with basically, the Hornets are fun to watch. The Knicks are actually somewhat fun this year. The Heat, of course, are the Heat. But then you have the Nets. Yeah, exactly. Can't finish against good teams. I mean, part of it's because he can't shoot very well. Yeah, he has a little bit of a jumper, but when you can't just pull up from three like Damian Lillard or something like that, like the reason why Damian Lillard and the Trailblazers are like still somewhat decent in games against really good teams is because Dame can just pull up from friggin' the logo and drain a three, and suddenly it's ignited and the game's close again. But with Giannis, he has to get his points from driving or just, kind of a mid-range pull up, and doesn't really have an outside shot or anything that's effective enough in order to make him enough of a dominant player that he can basically take over a game. Whereas instead, he kind of falls into the category of like, not, he's like just below like Durant and them. Yeah. And then, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing too. You can't hit free throws. If you can't drive and you can't hit free throws, it's like the same thing with Ben Simmons. I'm pretty sure Ben Simmons' free throw percentage isn't that great. It's the same thing. You just like, you can't drive all the time and be the part of your game, or like the most important part of your game and most effective, and then not be able to hit free throws. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Ron has heard things all his career about how sometimes at the end of games he seems like he doesn't want to drive, and it's because he can't hit free throws.
I never understood that. That's like the stupidest like casual fan thing I always had. Is just like, how is free throws your worst aspect of the game? I hear that one, and I used to think it was stupid, but now I'm back in the camp of like, yeah, how could that possibly be the worst part of your game? I know it's like more mental than it is physical. I guess that's the biggest part.
Well, and that's like I said, it's one of the weirdest things for LeBron, who I think he's like a career 71% shooter who from the free throw line, which is not great. Like Michael Jordan was a pretty good free throw shooter. He was 84%. So
Hmm.
it's one of those where LeBron being 71%, yeah, he does shy away from contact at the end of games. And it's because if he goes to the free throw line, I mean, it's, 3 out of 4 free throws he's able, or close to 3 out of 4 free throws he's able to make. So it's one of those where, like, if at the end of the game they need points and he gets fouled, you could potentially just get 1 point from him and that'd be it. That'd be a
Mhm.
possession. But
Yeah. I say
anyway,
that, but I can't hit anything anyways. But yeah, it is. I guess it's mental. That's what I'm gonna chalk it up to. That's what it has to be.
yeah, I mean, listen, not tooting any horns here, but I made every free throw when I was in freshman basketball.
Really?
Yeah, never missed one.
That's a pretty large sample size, honestly.
I
Even
didn't.
if
I
it is
mean,
freshman basketball.
yeah, I actually hit 2 free throws at the end of the game to seal a game. We were up by
Ooh.
like 1 point, or we were up by like 2 points, I think it was, and it was like they fouled me to try to like send me to the free throw line to get like the possession back with like the chance to tie the game or win it, and I hit both free throws and iced the game.
Wow, all those hours in the driveway doing that actually paid off. That's nice.
Yeah, my problem is I just can't dribble for shit.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest issue. I can hit a shot from anywhere, and I could probably make pretty layups, as you normally can, if you've done it a bunch of times. But I just freaking can't dribble to save my life. So there's no point. Like I'm basically a spot up. I'm like Kyle Korver, but like not not good enough. Like um. So that's kind of the NBA news. And then the other thing too I want to mention real quick, before we move on from NBA, is Andre Drummond did get signed to the Lakers. It's a pretty big deal, honestly, because Andre Drummond is a great defender, great rim protector, and a great rebounder. And all of those three things help Anthony Davis basically play away from the rim, which allows him to just actually utilize his entire offensive skill set rather than worrying about playing defense or rim protecting. So I think that really helps the Lakers. And we talked about last week, the Lakers really trying to make a push for Lowry. Getting Andre Drummond was a much better move than getting Lowry, in my opinion, because if they got Lowry, it was going to gut their bench too much. And getting Drummond, they don't have to gut any of their bench, and they get a center who immediately plugs in pretty much at starting center and allows Anthony Davis, like I said, to play at the 4 position away from the ball, and allows LeBron to also be LeBron and have two guys who are there, and LeBron doesn't have to worry about, I know there's a lot of hate LeBron gets for like taking a little bit of time off on defense and stuff like that. I mean, now if a guy goes to a rim, I mean, he's got to go against Andre Drummond and Anthony Davis, so that's pretty difficult. So their defense gets an improvement. Their team basically just gets an improvement, which they kind of needed a little bit of a spark. So that'll probably ignite them a little bit. I still think in the end of the day, the Nets are going to win the freaking championship just on pure talent alone and production. But well, it's at least makes it entertaining, at least that there's a couple teams that could be enjoyable to watch. I don't generally watch the regular season because especially being a Bulls fan and just dealing with crap for the last 20 years. And
Yeah.
Garpax who, I mean, to sum up being a Bulls fan is thinking about how excited we could be to get LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, or Chris Bosh, and then instead getting Carlos Boozer. That's the epitome of being a Bulls fan.
Yeah.
You get too hyped. You get too hyped for like, oh man, we could have LeBron potentially. I mean, maybe not LeBron, but like D Wade come back home, and then
Think of
you're
how
like,
much more fun that would have added to your childhood. A good
oh
Bulls
god, I
team to
actually
the
would have
city.
enjoyed going to Bulls. Like I went to Bulls games and I've enjoyed the Bulls and I love the Bulls. Um, but it's hard to watch like an injured Derrick Rose try to carry a team that's terrible and then him leave and then Jimmy Butler is the guy, but then Jimmy Butler is like pissed off because the rest of the team sucks. And so then Jimmy Butler leaves and then we still suck.
Yeah.